What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we are going to listen to Nancy Pelosi's interview, and this was last night. This got a lot of attention. This video is actually going viral. Nancy Pelosi was very upset with Wolf Blitzer, and so we're going to play the video. We'll do more of a reaction video, but before we do, if you guys can do me a favor, please hit that like button. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. Okay, so before I start the video, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of background when it comes down to this whole situation. So Nancy Pelosi is catching a lot of flack right now from Democrats and Republicans. She is pretty much the blame of why we don't have another stimulus package in a lot of people's eyes. A lot of people are looking at it that way. Now, I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think there are other people that are playing a role as well. She is holding up part of this whole stimulus package, but you also have Senate Republicans that are holding things up as well because they don't want anything. You have Nancy Pelosi that wants a big bill, and you have Senate Republicans that don't want anything. And so that's a recipe for disaster, because that's a situation where if you have people that are just not interested in anything at all, how can you really negotiate with those people? And then you have the White House. You have the president who's down in the polls, just wants something, anything. Just give me whatever you can, go big, like he's saying. And so that's why we saw the $1.8 trillion bill. Now, we don't know what's in the bill yet. That's the crazy thing. Nancy Pelosi's been putting out letters to her colleagues, kind of informing them of different things that are in the bill, but we don't know what the complete bill looks like. And it would be nice if we knew what the bill looked like. That way we could say, okay, yeah, I can see what she's saying. I can agree with her or I disagree with her. However you want to look at it, we don't know what's in the bill. And Wolf Blitzer really pushes her on this. So we're going to play the video, and it's about 13 minutes long, so it's a little lengthy. But I need to play it in its entirety because it's pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and play it.
As you know, there are Americans who are being evicted from their homes. They can't pay the rent. Many Americans are waiting in food lines for the first time in their lives. Can you look them in the eye, Madam Speaker, and explain why you don't want to accept the president's latest stimulus offer?
Well, because thank you very much, Wolf, and I hope you'll ask the same question of the Republicans about why they don't really want to meet the needs of the American people.
They always go to the other side, right? If you get asked a question, if it's a Democrat gets asked a question, he's always going to go to the Republicans. Oh, well, you should ask the Republicans the same thing. Or if the Republican get asked a question, they're going to go to this is textbook politics. Let's go ahead and go back.
Let me say to those people, because all of my colleagues, we represent these people. I have for over 30 years represented my constituents. I know what their needs are. I listen to them, and their needs are not addressed in the president's proposal. So when you say to me, why don't you accept theirs? Why don't they accept ours? Our legislation is there to do three things primarily: to honor our workers, honor our heroes, our healthcare workers, our police and fire first responders, our teachers, our transportation, sanitation, food workers, the people who make our lives work. We couldn't be doing what we're doing without them. Many of them have risked their lives so that to save lives, and now they will lose their jobs because Mitch McConnell says let the states go bankrupt.
Excuse me for interrupting,
let the states go bankrupt.
Madam Speaker, but they really need the money right now, and even members of your own but even members of your own caucus, even members of your own caucus, Madam Speaker, want to accept this deal. $1.8 trillion. Congressman Ro Khanna, for example. But let me just quote Ro Khanna, a man you know well. I assume you admire him. He's a Democrat. And he just said this. He said, people in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal. Put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
All right, before she answers that, I don't know why Ro Khanna is talking about Obama's stimulus. Different times, right? We're talking about a recession compared to this situation that we're in, a pandemic, which is different. It's a different situation. The economy is struggling, but we are in a pandemic. So there are other issues, there are other factors. We have healthcare concerns. We need testing and tracing and all that stuff that you're not going to have in just a normal recession. So I don't know why Ro Khanna went to that. That's not really a good example. A better example would be the CARES Act that was already approved. That was $2.2 trillion, and that seemed to have helped at least some. So that's kind of a better benchmark to use. So it's just interesting that he used that. I don't know why he was using that. I guess that's just kind of to prove his point, because you can't really use the CARES Act because the CARES Act was $2.2 trillion. So it's a little bit different. So let's go ahead and go back.
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist, and many of your colleagues apologists for the Republican position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February. I want this very much now, because people need help now. But it's no use giving them a false thing just because the president wants to put a check with his name on it in the mail, that we should not be doing all we can to help people pay the rent, put food on the table, to enhance benefits, that they don't lose their jobs if they're state and local, we're talking about the consequences of a pandemic, that the symptoms of a problem that the president refuses to address.
But you know,
and that is the coronavirus.
We know
that is
we
the
know
coronavirus.
the problem out there, but there are millions of Americans who have lost their jobs. They can't pay the rent. Their kids need the food.
That's right, and that's what we're trying to get done.
$1.8 trillion, and the president just tweeted, stimulus, go big or go home. He wants even more right now. So why not work out a deal with him? And don't let the perfect, as they say here in Washington, be the enemy of the good.
Well, I will not let the wrong be the enemy of the right.
What's wrong with $1.8 trillion?
Well, you know what? Do you have any idea what the difference is between the spending that they have in their bill and that we have in our bill? Do you realize that they have come back and said all these things for child tax credits and earned income tax credits, for helping people who have lost their jobs, are eliminated in their bill? Do you realize they pay no respect to the fact that child care is very important for people whose children cannot go to school because they're doing remote learning, and yet they minimize the need for child care, which is the threshold with which people, mothers and fathers, can go to work if they have that? Do you have any idea of how
that's precisely why, Madam Speaker,
they're concerned?
That's why it's so important right now. Yesterday, I spoke to Andrew Yang, who says the same thing. It's not everything you want,
but you know what?
There's a lot there.
Honest to God, you really, I can't get over it, because Andrew Yang, he's lovely. Ro Khanna, he's lovely. They are not negotiating this situation. They have no idea of the particulars. They have no idea of what the language is here. I didn't come over here to have, so you're the apologist for the Obama, excuse me, God forbid.
Madam Speaker, I'm not an apologist. I'm asking
Oops.
serious questions, because so many people are in desperate need right now. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
When was the last time?
Let me respond to you.
Let me ask you, when was the last time, Madam Speaker, when was the last time you spoke with the president about this?
This is a good point. When was the last time you spoke to the president? I've been saying this for months now. We need to have the president in the negotiating table. We need to have Mitch McConnell at the negotiating table. These people need to be there. I mean, I don't understand why we're negotiating with surrogates. And like I said, if you have politicians, Nancy Pelosi, President Trump, Mitch McConnell, if they can't talk to each other, then they need to go. They should not be there. That is a part of their job. Even if you don't like the people, you still need to negotiate with them, because you're doing it for the American people. Let's get back to this.
Don't speak to the president. Speak to his representative.
Why not call him and say, Mr. President, let's work out a deal. It's not going to be everything you want, not going to be everything I want, but there are so many Americans right now who are in desperate need. Let's make a deal.
What makes me amused, if it weren't so sad, is how you all think that you know more about the suffering of the American people than those of us who are elected by them to represent them at that table. It is unfortunate that we do not have shared values with this White House, and that they have in their bill Why don't you talk about in their bill a tax break for the wealthiest families in the country while they cut out the earned income tax credit for the poorest families in our country and the poorest children in our country? That we have to fight with them to get them to address the coronavirus crisis, because they have said it was a hoax, it was magical, it was a miracle, it was going to cure it. It hasn't. And that's why we find ourselves in this situation. I feel very confident about the knowledge that I bring to this, but more importantly, the knowledge that my chairs, our chairs of jurisdiction, science-based, academically documented, institutionally suggested in terms of what the cost would be to do it and to do it that way. And about, we talk about child care, yes. We talk about safety in the workplace. Safety in the workplace, that's a very important issue, especially in the time of the pandemic. So what I say to those people is, we're going to get a deal. And when we do, it will be retroactive. It will be retroactive.
Here's what you wrote in a letter to House Democrats, Madam Speaker. And I ask these questions only, as you know, so many millions of Americans are suffering right now.
Well, you quote two people who know nothing about the agreement. There is no agreement. But what the suggestions are, as if there's some authority on the subject. Please.
Okay, so she raises a good point here. She's in the negotiating room. She knows what's going on when it comes to what they're asking for, how strongly they want, whatever they want. Like I said, this has not been presented to all of us. We don't know everything that's in this $1.8 trillion. So she brings up a good point. You have other politicians that are saying, just get it done, go with the 1.8 trillion, but they don't know what's in it. They don't know the details. And so it could be one of those situations where you say, okay, I'll take the 1.8 trillion. Then you find out, oh, wow, this is in there. Why did you approve it? I mean, it's one of those situations, right? So she has a good point when it comes down to looking at, she knows exactly what's in there. I think what she should do in a situation like this is let us know everything that's in there. I mean, she's doing piece by piece, but let us know everything that's in there. Just put it out there. It should be out there anyway. If it's a proposal, it should be out there. That 1.8 trillion, we should see everything that's in there. Just like before when the HEALS Act came out and Mitch McConnell didn't even know that the FBI funding for the FBI building was in there. Stuff like that. We want to know what's in this proposal. So let's go ahead and continue.
Give equal weight to to all of the chairmen on the committee who have written this bill.
But so many of your fellow Democrats in the House, they want a deal right now.
No, that isn't.
The problem solvers, they all want a deal right now.
Yeah.
And here's what they're complaining about, because you wrote a letter to House Democrats and you said this. Let me read a line from the letter you wrote. The president only wants his name on a check to go out before Election Day and for the market to go up. Is that what this is all about? Not allow the president to take credit if there's a deal that will help millions of Americans right now?
He's not that important. But let me say this, with all due respect, and you know we've known each other a long time, you really don't know what you're talking about. If the plural of anecdote is not data. Yes, there's some people who said this or that. Overwhelmingly, my caucus wants what is right for the American people. Overwhelmingly, our chairman who wrote the bill, read their statements. They all put out their own statements when they saw what the White House was proposing. So do a service to the issue and have some level of respect for the people who have worked on these issues, written the bill to begin with. Now, let me just say this in terms of the numbers. I want people to do the math. We had 3.4, which would meet the needs of the American people for a sustained period of time, so that there was some certainty in what would happen. The Republicans said no, well, so we took it down $1 trillion by cutting the time. We took it down another $200 billion. So we're now $1.200 billion down. We came down to 2.2. At the same time, since tomorrow will be 5 months since we passed the bill, at the same time, because there was no resolution, Mitch McConnell said, let's pause. The virus didn't pause, and now we're at a place where we need more money. We need more money for PPP, for our small businesses. We need more money for our airlines. We need more money for our schools. So we have absorbed nearly $500 billion more of expenses still within the 2.2.
I understand all of that, and I have only the greatest respect for you.
So do the math.
Madam Speaker, I have only the greatest respect for you.
$1.6 trillion.
$1.8 trillion. $1.8 trillion is a lot of money. The American people need that money ASAP because they're suffering right now. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying...
And you don't care how it's spent.
I care, of course, how it's spent. But what I don't understand is why not talk to the president personally, call him up and say, Mr. President, let's get a deal tomorrow.
Look, let me say this. The president has sent Mr. Mnuchin to negotiate. That's what we've done with other presidents. This isn't unusual. With President Bush, we did this quite a bit because that's how you negotiate. And then you take it to the president. Mr. Mnuchin, I think he has integrity representing his position. May I finish, please? But he has integrity representing his position, but his position has no integrity. They do not share our values. Have a little respect for the fact that we know something about these subjects. And there's a big difference between Democrats and Republicans in whether they want to give a big tax cut to the wealthiest people in the country in their bill, in the CARES Act. We tried to take it out in this bill. Instead, they took out earned income tax credit, child tax credit, expanded health benefits to UI benefits to the extent that it was agreed to before.
Right.
So this is, I have every confidence in what and the arguments that we make because it's based on science and documentation. Our chairs know their stuff. They know what they're doing, with all due respect to the kind of people you were referencing. And I welcome their enthusiasm. I welcome their interest. I welcome their originality of their thinking. But the fact is, we have a responsibility to meet the needs of the American people in a retroactive way, so they're not at a total loss. They are at a loss because the president has ignored the virus. Right. I wish he would spend time on the fact that if he had not ignored the virus, we wouldn't be in the position we're in, but we are. And let me say about that also, I hope that I'm pleased that these pharmaceutical companies are taking the responsible position to halt and hopefully then resume. Because we want the public to have confidence in whatever therapies or whatever vaccines come along, that they will take them.
Right.
And to people who say, well, I don't trust Trump on that, if we trust the Food and Drug Administration for what they are doing, the scientists there who've been working 24/7 for months and months and months, excellent science. The science should call the shot. And when they we should all trust it.
And let's hope they get more treatments. Let's hope they get a vaccine. And Madam Speaker, yes. I certainly respect you, but I also respect Ro Khanna. I respect Andrew Yang. I respect members of the Democrats who are members of the problem solvers. They want a deal because so many people right now are suffering.
Well, the problem solvers, by the way, don't have any earned income tax credit or child tax credit in their proposal either. But let's not go into that.
Yeah,
you evidently do not respect the chairman of the committees who wrote these bills.
I respect
and
all of you.
I wish you would respect the knowledge that goes into getting meeting the needs of the American people. But again, you've been on a jag defending the administration all this time with no knowledge of the difference between our two bills. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
Right. Madam Speaker, these are incredibly difficult times right now. And we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll leave it on the vote that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you. But I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
And it's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
and we represent them. And we represent them.
Getting by these long food lines that we're seeing. I know you are.
We know them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we say,
we know them. We represent them.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say.
It is nowhere near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right, let's see what happens, because every day is critically, critically important.
Wow. So that was a lot. That was a lot. It was one of those situations, just looking at the interview, and this is I've watched it a couple of times, and yes, Nancy Pelosi, you can see she does have some pressure coming from Democrats, coming from Republicans, probably coming from some of her constituents when it comes down to get something done. But you do have to know what's in the details. If it's a $1.8 trillion bill, we want to know what's in it. That's fair, right? You should want to know what's in it before you say, yeah, go ahead and go with that. We're looking at the numbers only. And by us looking at the numbers only, there could be a lot of stuff in there once we find out, and we'll be like, what's this all about? Let's just say there are a lot of people that had problems with that $3.4 trillion HEROES Act. And in that proposal, you had pork in there. You had some funding going to different things, and people were like, why is this money going here? Why is this money going there? Could you imagine if we didn't know what was in it and they just said, okay, you know what, we're going to approve it and push it through without knowing what's in it? We would be looking at it like, why are we spending money on this? Why are we spending money on that? What does that have to do with the coronavirus relief? And I mean, so it's right for us to know what's in the proposal, and I think that should come out. Like if this 1.8 trillion is something that we want to take strong consideration and look at, we should know what's in it, and the politicians should know what's in it before they start tweeting things. And that's another whole issue that I have too. Why are you tweeting? Shouldn't you be talking to the speaker if you have issues? Maybe you've tried that already. Now you just want to get the public on your side. I don't know. It is an election year. Ro Khanna could be putting this out just because he wants to look like I'm trying to do something so it looks good for his election prospects. I don't know. But when it comes down to it, tweeting, I mean, this whole tweeting stuff, I've never been a fan of that. If you have issues with people, you need to talk with those people and try to work things out. Don't get on Twitter and start putting stuff out. And especially if you don't have the information. Like if you don't know what the details are and you're talking about, let's go 1.8 trillion. Okay. Are you going to be the one that's going to stand up when we find out that there's money going to these crazy different programs? Are you going to be the one to stand up and say, yeah, you know what? I'm the one that said, let's go with that. And you don't even know what's in it. So I don't know. I mean, you guys saw the video. It was, she got very upset, very, very upset with Wolf Blitzer. And obviously there's been some issues with them before. Just by the body language and everything. It didn't even start off slow. It was just pretty much in as soon as they started talking. As soon as he asked her a question, she was going at it, and they were going back and forth, back and forth. So let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. And one more thing I want to talk about too when it comes to the $1.8 trillion bill. So the White House, they're pushing the $1.8 trillion bill. Now, Mitch McConnell, he wants to do another skinny bill. And so he's going to present another skinny bill next week. It does not have stimulus checks in it. So that's what he's going to present. I posted a video earlier yesterday, so you can check it out. It's up in the link there. But he wants to go another way, $500 billion. So they're not even looking. The Republican senators aren't even thinking about a $1.8 trillion bill. They want to go with that $500 billion. That's where they are, where a lot of them are, I should say. So when it comes down to it, this is kind of meaningless anyway, because it does need to get through the Senate. The White House is not at play right now. They're doing the negotiating, but they're not at play because it does have to get through the House, through the Senate, and then it will go to the president so he can sign off on it. So that's all I have for you guys today. Please let me know what you guys think about this. That was a pretty crazy interview. Please give the video a like. Please hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.